Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Life Stories. Today we have in our show Nicole Wieberneit. She is a director of sales at Microsoft. She is living in Greater Seattle. Is a mother of three teenage girls. She has a dog called Lucky, which is also another female. She has a passion for experiences like cooking, traveling, sports. She's today looking after a team of, sales and GDM strategists that their objective is to design impactful customer and employee experiences to grow sales revenue. So, Nicole, we're very happy. I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, and thank you, Jesus, for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to tell a little bit about more myself and my stories.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's also a pleasure to have you. So, Nicole, tell us a little bit about your leadership story. I mean, wherever it started, all along the journey, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I think when I look back in my career and and I think there was a lot of, leader and managers often put together in the same kind of area, but it's actually not. Everybody, an individual person can be a leader. And I think that is really when I retrospective, that is what I had. And you probably already, during school time when how you grew up, how you getting educated by your parents. But if I go back, and so after my master's, I joined SAP in the consulting in the CPG area. And my really first big project at that time was for a company called Maxium, which was a alcoholic beverage, more or less distribution company, which had like Absolute Vodka, Remy Control. I think some of the brands a lot of people know. And they started, that big greenfield project where you're going from a blueprint to, design, build a global template, and then roll it out. And myself, joined as fresh off the university. I got 4 months of training, hands-on training. That was actually the reason why I selected SAP to join, because I found having that hands-on experience and having a little bit of, some base on feet you can stand on is good. And however, I quickly, during that first phase of the blueprint and design, I understood the processes. I understood what the business value the customer wanted to drive. So this differentiated me very much from a lot of my other colleagues, which were quite technology driven. So I started to basically to lead in a sense that I was a translator between business and technology language. So I then had an idea. I don't want to look at processes like we were there for CRM, so customer relationship management, marketing, and sales, but actually the process goes further. So if I think about consumer products business, a trade promotion is a promotion done by sales where they're giving discounts. So when you're going into a retail store and you're seeing 20% off if you buy that vodka, that is a trade promotion. But that comes then with impact in supply chain and finance. So you need to think and the processes end to end. And I started to have that concept that we need to think about that. And I raised my voice. I basically had the idea and I brought people with me. So after 3 months, as a junior, at that point in time, the customer asked that I please be the leader for the marketing and sales part going forward, because they feel like I understand the business, I understand the process, and I took the opportunity up. So for me, being a leader is getting out of your comfort zone, trying to learn something new, fuel your energy, and take that and get them into the next step. So that is for me being a leader, that you inspire people to follow and then you grow. It's like thinking outside of your current work responsibility and seek that understanding and build upon your strengths, because that is really where you can shine. And the more and more you build on your strengths, you can sell it very easily and
Right.
then take it up.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, fully agree. And, touching, based on these 2 points about, constantly learning, looking outside your comfort zone, and this part that you're just thinking about building on your strengths. So could you have any interesting stories, or some particular moments in your career where you said, this helped me understand that this is the way, these three things that you just mentioned, how did you learn that?
It's a really good question. I don't know if I learned it that early on. A lot of it was naturally that came to me. That's why I think building upon your strengths and what brings you energy. So really find out what is a little bit your passion, what is your why. Yeah. So for me, it is the topic of customer experience, which sits in the marketing space. But if you think like that, or that's where it originated from. But a customer goes not only through like typical outreach and trying to get you into the sales funnel, you then buy something, you have an issue with a product, a service, you're going into complaint. That is for me, whole that kind of customer experience. So my passion drove me down to a topic. And then it's like that kind of fuel, that energy, I've started to build thought leadership.
Right.
And I built then my career on that kind of thought leadership pillow. I made myself, I grew my reputation. At that point in time, there was not that massive LinkedIn or internet or social media, but it's people knew that Nicole understands the business. Nicole thinks in the big picture. Nicole can turn the business around. And in the end, when I was in New Zealand, I got huge responsibility of $100 million kind of projects from an architecture perspective, because they were like, yes, Nicole understands it. So always deliver above the expectation,
Yeah.
having that kind of wider picture, what can be handled. And then people start recommending you. And I think that is something which I took for granted. And when I then changed roles and leaped into something else, that was a little bit taken away, that kind of reputation, because I actually changed into another kind of actually, it was still business applications or CRM system, but within from an SAP ecosystem into Microsoft ecosystem, which had new customers, new partners, new other people.
Everything.
And then
Yeah.
it's like I didn't have that anymore, but I could then grant myself, I know the process, I know the understanding, and actually the systems are not that different. And then I could start growing that again. So it's when you go into a next step and you reach out, and I think you should do, because at one point I came to my life where like I have done all kind of projects with SAP, CRM, from marketing, sales, service, internet sales, different kind of industries. It's getting repetitive. So you need to then to grow, you need to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But for me, the guidance I would give, only go with one leg. Have a leg you can stand on. So you basically have experience in that. And then you can start building your other legs, the strengths out of it. So you're standing at one point on two legs again. And that is basically what I did when I went from the SAP ecosystem to the Microsoft ecosystem. So
Right.
that is some of the learnings on how I grew.
Right, right. And was there any challenges there when you had to, rebuild in some way your reputation, as you were saying, rebuild your skills in that new environment that was, now Microsoft? Was there anything that you say, oh, this happened to me and I had to do this or that, to be able to be, on that same level again?
For me, the biggest thing was at that point in time, which really pushed me out of my comfort zone, is I went from not only from a different ecosystem, I went from services to sales. Now,
Right.
services, you are months and months within a customer. You're doing your sales for or pre-sales for consulting work, but you're getting brought into. Now I needed to do the outreach. I needed to go hunt. I needed to do selling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was quite new for me. And I had to build that kind of, okay, how do I need to think about that? Um, how do I need to make a cold call? Thank God within Microsoft, more or less every customer is a customer of Microsoft. So you have an account manager who can bring you in, which is a little bit warmer
Right.
than that cold calling. But you still need to then bring in your value. And especially I was selling business value, and people from Microsoft customers have a perception that Microsoft is Office 365, maybe some Windows and T. And nowadays they understand Azure, but at that point in time, 8 years ago, they didn't think about these things. So why are you talking about business value? So I had to explain that. So that was a difference where in the SAP world, people knew it. So to summarize, going from a service to a sales, having new skill sets, I needed to learn with that kind of reach out, starting the original discussion to really land business value. Then when it went further down the sales pipeline or the sales flow, that was where it was very familiar with it, where I could ground myself. I know the processes, it's just another system.
Right.
And then it's the negotiation part was different because you negotiate licensing versus services. So
Right.
that was the third
Completely different.
difference that coming into there, how do you set up? How do you then give, trying to get that big kind of sale in and not just a small pilot first and then growing. These were things where I had to learn and
Right.
overcome some challenges in that case.
Right. And it was all pretty much, self-paced learning, or did you have to like tap into people that could help you? I mean, what was your strategy there?
So I got, and I really, thanks to Microsoft, they have that concept that you get an onboarding buddy, which is part of doing the same role, so you can learn from them and getting you who do you navigate such a big company, the difference from big companies to smaller companies, you have some politics, who's doing what. So
Mhm.
that kind of navigation and that mentorship helped me a lot to think, how should I think about that role and how should I doing. She also encouraged and recommended that I do a 2 weeks immersion training that I then got paid, where I got flown to Seattle to the head office, and then we had product training, so I could understand the processes towards the product. And
Right.
then I think the third thing is that is when you start, but I can just encourage everybody, and I'm not doing it enough, and I'm doing it more and more, is having a mentor and having different mentors for different things that you would like to accomplish.
Yeah.
And pick that. So you might want to have someone who's really good in networking. Yeah, for me, for example, to talk to them, hey, I'm a little bit nervous. So that was one of the areas where I didn't feel strength. How should I talk? How should I reach out to the customer? How should I first get my first steps into to have someone there? And I mean, it changes over time. Like I can remember when I went from then sales to strategy, I got a mentor who was already a long time in strategy. And I asked her as an example, hey, how do I create successful motions? And she said, Nicole, you need to generate energy, and you're doing it by being targeted. Really focus on a region, on an industry, and be super targeted and build that out. And you want to have that buy-in, make it scarce, like Apple, they making such a hype and only a few people come. So you actually create that excitement internally from the sales teams to be part of that. So this type of you need, in depending on the stage of your career, and as well within each stage, I think you need 2 or 3 kind of great mentors and to help build you up. And that also not only where you can talk and ask questions, but they push you.
Yeah.
So you really say, Nicole, you should really go. It's like, because you find excuses why you don't want to do what,
Oh,
where you're
yeah,
getting out of your
I love it.
comfort zone. And at the beginning, you will grow your career based on your strengths. And that is really good. But at one point, the strengths only get you that far. If you then want to go to the next level, you really need to get out of your comfort zone and address things which are maybe weaknesses, or you haven't, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but naturally it doesn't come that well to
Natural.
you, and you need to build the muscle for it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
100.
and 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 they need to push you there, and they need to say, you're doing it, reach out, go to speak to 3 people, or go into a podcast as an example, and do that.
Wow. No, that's really impressive. And I think, yeah, I agree totally with you there. A mentor is not a mentor if they don't push you. If it's just, otherwise, it's just a shadow, it's just a guide, but it's not really a mentor. So, do you have any like advice or tips on, how to find, I mean, those mentors, and how to convince them, to push you forward, right? I mean, is that something that you had to search, or it just came, directly to you? How that did it work?
Okay, if and some of the listeners are more like me, they think, oh, I cannot ask anybody, I show weaknesses, and that's the culture I grew up with. You being a young woman, and you need to be strong, especially in the world of tech. I can tell you a lot of people love to help. And so if you reach out and you're being very open, look, I come with that and that background. Yeah, so like if you would go, I'm a woman in tech, I really would like to learn more to grow. Would you spend 30 minutes of your time to just share with me, your learnings like I'm doing now? I'm guessing if they have time, 20-30% definitely would say yes, I take that call, because generally you want to help. I
Yeah.
think it's just natural. Then if you then see a fit in doing these networking calls, you can actually reach out and ask and saying, would you be open to be my mentor? And then make rules like, I want to have a mentor in this area. That's how often I think I would like to meet you. And then don't take it personal if they're saying no, because it's often not because of you. They might not have time, or are, busy, with family life, trying to get their career under control as well. So I think that is what you can do. The second thing is have a very open conversation with your manager. So at Microsoft, we have career development plans where we actually need to put down what we want to do in 2 years, 3 years, where we're seeing gaps on where we want to grow. And I encourage everybody, especially when there are companies which are like bigger, they have role guides, etc. So, and you want to go from one level to the other, like you want to get a promotion, check out where you have a gap and then say, here is a gap. And then ask your manager, who do you know who can help me close that gap with mentoring? And can we do a special project? Because as a manager, as I am, that is what I would like to know. First of all, do you want to close that gap? Or it could be even, I want to grow from being a seller to being a sales manager. It could be from seller to strategy, whatever it is, but you know your path and you're going with intention towards, and you should talk to your manager about these things and be open. It doesn't, I know there is a concept where people found that originally, if I'm open about that, it seems that you want to leave the manager and you're not happy. If that's the type of manager, you're probably not in a good place anyway. If not, if you have a good manager, they want to see you grow and they want to development further, because that's actually how you're getting measured as well in these modern worlds. So that is the two things. You can go out, and it can be internally as well as external people. And I would say the best coach I had are people who are not necessarily in my direct environment and work, because they don't assume or they don't think they understand. They ask stupid questions. And these questions will actually Oh my God, that's right. Why do I even think so? Because everybody thinks like that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they bring another perspective completely.
mhm,
No, it's true. No, I love all those tips. I mean, I think they're really useful. And touching base on the ask for help part, right? And even asking for help on who can help me, which is the part that you touch base
yeah.
there. So people may need help, really, our listeners, and maybe finding your path, your career as something, as they may feel reflected in that up to some point. So how could they reach out to you to get in touch and probably get other tips and other advice from you as well?
No, they definitely can come out, find me on LinkedIn. My name is very unique, so there is not that many out there. So Dr. Nicole Wieberneit, and just ping, reference that podcast, Real Life Stories, and saying, hey, I would love to connect you. And then I would say that's the easiest way. And for all the women out there, I would say if you really want to go grow your career, I know it's hard sometimes having family life and career life behind it. But if you set your goal, and I did that, I always wanted to have both, which is from a German upbringing, not necessarily normal. Yeah, because you're either a career woman or you're a stay-at-home mom or part-time working. I wanted to have both, and I made it clear. So we, as a family, and my husband and I decided to have a family career. And with that, how did we set up the different things? Like I was in consulting, we were flying, but we made it work. So think innovative about what you want, what your career, and then reach out. There's always ways on how you can make it work. And it's not necessarily the way 80% of people are going. Yeah, there are innovative ways you can do it and have that flexibility. And you need to prioritize what you want and together with what your partner and your family needs. So that
No,
balance, and there is things out there. So please take that up. And if you want to have more guidance on these topics, feel free to reach out.
that's excellent. Yeah, I love it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will reach out there. So thank you so much, Nicole, for being on the show, for being on Real Life Stories. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great